everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author, and today we're going to be talking about tips and tricks when it comes to editing. I've done lots of tips and tricks videos and I thought I would focus on editing today. So what are my 5 tips and tricks when it comes to editing? Number 1, find someone who works with you. When picking out an editor, you need someone who fits with you. Whether this is someone you already know or someone completely new, you need someone who sees your way of working and is able to work with that. Choosing an editor isn't easy, but it is very much a necessary part of the publication process. It can be a long step, and the last thing you want to do is go with the first person you find and find that you have a personality clash. This is a time when you need to be working together, not pulling in opposite directions. So when talking to editors, do a check, however you see fit, that you can work with this person. Are they courteous, professional? Do they work the same kind of hours as you? Are they someone you feel you can talk to? Do you feel like they're going to give you all the time it needs, or do you feel rushed? All of these and more can be a good way to tell if this one particular person will work well with you, because the last thing you want to do is get into the thick of things and find that they drive you up the wall, and not in a good way. You also want someone who has the qualifications to back it up. It's no good just hiring a friend who can fit you in around their stuff, because you need to be working with an actual editor. That said, number 2, make sure you have the same vision. While you are always going to have the final say on things, it's always good to know you and your editor are on the same page. One of the reasons I love working with Tony, who's my editor, is because she completely gets what I'm trying to do with my books. She understands, having read every single one, the situation I'm going for, and she and I click completely. So working with her is a relief and a breeze, because I don't get anxious that she's going to tell me to take the book in the wrong direction. Part of this comes from having worked with her so much, but another part of it is that we just both get on and we want the same things from the editing process. If you feel like your editor doesn't click with you, as I said before, this can be a sign of bad things to come. While it's not always easy to know this ahead of time, it's always good to have that initial conversation and work out what works and what doesn't. Because you don't want to be getting to the end of the book and find that nothing your editor has suggested matches up with how you feel the story should go. You're the author. And while some of this can be a clash of personalities, some of it can also be making the wrong choice with an editor. Which brings me to number 3. Remember, you get to say yay or nay. This is something I've heard a lot of people say that just isn't true, that they've hired an editor, they've come in and made all these changes and now the book is ruined. 1, an editor shouldn't be making actual changes to the book, but should be giving you comments to work with. And 2, as the author, you retain complete creative control. If you've hired an editor and they've sent you back a book with their corrections automatically implemented, then that's not good. It's also not how an editor should work. Tony and I use Google Docs, and she will go through the comments and occasionally highlighting certain areas that she feels need changes. She'll tell me what changes they need to be, and then she leaves it to me as to whether or not I make those changes. Because it's my book, and that's how it works. So I don't know why there are people out there thinking that an editor can change the whole book without your consent, because that's just not how editing works, like at all. On to more practical measures. Number 4, set time aside for editing. Editing takes time. This isn't just because your editor is busy with other work, but also because you'll be needing to put in the changes and rewrite bits and pieces. It takes a long time depending on how it works for you. You need to make sure that you leave adequate time to do all that needs to be done before rushing off to press publish. Plan ahead, sure, but be ready to take longer if needed, because this is one part of the publishing process that should not be rushed. It should also not be skipped, but we've talked about that before, and I'll link the videos up in the cards. And finally, number 5, it's worth it in the end. Yes, it's a lot of work, and yes, it takes time, and yes, it's not my favourite part of the publishing process, but having your book properly edited is so worth that work, because you're putting out the best version of what book that possibly can be. So just remember that. I know it's a huge cost, and I know that it takes time, but it is worth it. So those are my 5 tips and tricks when it comes to editing. I've been doing this a while, and as I said, editing is not my favourite part of the process, but I know that it's a necessary step, and having found an editor that works well with me and an editing team that works well with me, I feel a lot happier about things. Editing is something that you have to get done, and finding someone who works with you is going to make that process so much easier. So please do take necessary steps to protect yourself and to find someone who jives with you, because it'll just make things less of a headache. And who likes headaches? So that's all I have time for today. If you want to support my channel, you can comment or subscribe. I post new videos on Thursdays. You can find me all over social media, and my books are available everywhere. And don't forget to pre-order Dying Thoughts 7th Death for 99p. all the links to which are listed below. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep writing. Bye.